Take your mind into the wonderful world of physical, emotional, psychological, and spiritual wellness. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Kinetic Hour. Conversations with you and guests. With your hosts, Kenan, Wesley, Mason. That's me. Another documentary that, and this is the big one here because this is what all the buzz is about for at least the last week now. There's a documentary by Robert Dalton Jr. called Hebrews to Negroes. Hebrews to Negroes. Oh gosh, I can't remember what the subtitle is called, but you can go look it up. It's called Hebrews to Negroes. It's actually based on a series of documentaries. This specific one is based on the book of the same title, but this specific documentary was released in 2018, and it's as of the last few days, it's created a whirlwind or a tidal wave of controversy because NBA basketball star Kyrie Irving, who plays for the Brooklyn Nets, NBA star, posted a link on his, I believe his either Instagram or Twitter page. He posted a link to Amazon for people to go and check out this documentary.
It's called Hebrews to Negroes, Wake Up Black America.
Wake Up Black America. There you go. Wake Up Black America. Hebrews to Negroes, Wake Up Black America is the name of the documentary by Robert Dalton Jr. And I got a chance to watch the documentary. It's a pretty lengthy documentary. It's 3.5 hours, but it's very, very, very precise, and it's very, very detailed. I might have to go and watch it again to literally absorb everything that was put on the table, which were a lot of documentation that anyone can go look this documentation up. I mean, it's out there for everyone to see. Not only documentation of genealogical documentation, but just historical documentation of documents that have been around for well over 100 years, books that have been published 150 years ago that talk about certain truths of our origins and truths of us as it relates to certain spiritual or religious practices. The premise of this specific movie and why Kyrie Irving decided to post a link to this movie for people to watch, view if they so choose to. The premise of this movie is to document the history of Jewish people, or who are the original Jewish people, versus what we have been accustomed to, or the narrative of what we've been taught for the last maybe 4 to 5 generations, is that the Jewish people, or people that practice Jewish faith, are of European descent. The subject or the premise of this documentary tells a totally different story that Euro-Jewish people have come to defend and actually promote this particular video or movie or documentary, and the book as well. There are Euro-Jewish people that have come to promote this specific documentary because they have seen the documentation and the not only the cultural history, but again, the DNA lineage of who are the original Hebrews, or who are the original Jewish people. Um, this documentary kind of proves, and again, this is the reason why I say the word controversy and define it as when the mass media or television tells the general public to stay away from certain products or stay away from certain television programming, or to not view certain documentaries. Because Kyrie Irving decided to post this or post this link, it's caused a shockwave, because now the narrative is that he is being accused of being, quote, anti-Semitic, which is a social buzzword that, or a buzz phrase that I've heard all my life. Anti-Semitic. And usually when that term is heard, it's usually people of European or Caucasian descent telling us that we are the ones that are anti-Semitic or racist, if you will, against this particular group of people. Again, the premise, because America is about black and white, it's always going to be about black people and white people bickering at each other's cultural flaws or cultural hangups. This documentary literally lays out all facts and all documentation that the first Jewish people were black or of African or Indian or South Asian descent. The original Jewish people, were not of European descent, or the language that they use. I can't think of the name. I can't think of the name that they use, but the original name that the European Jewish people use as their everyday language. I think they linked it back to certain Russian languages or countries that are just south of Russia, as opposed to original Hebrew language coming out of Northern Africa and other regions, Mesopotamia, which is just above Northern Africa. Now we call it Iran and Iraq and these other countries, which we call the Middle East. And all these places are regions where darker skinned people resided. I mean, these are genealogical DNA facts that can't be disputed. And this is what this documentary laid out. And I challenge any European Jewish person that practices Jewish faith to, again, objectively watch this documentary with an open mind. That's my challenge. Because again, as the one tagline that I saw that really stood out for me is that what did they say? A lie can only be told for so long, or something to that effect. I'm paraphrasing. And
When
it's true.
people start to believe it.
Yeah, when you tell a lie for so long, the lie will become the truth. We talking quantum physics energy. When you tell a lie for a certain time period and you tell it across the television waves over and over again, generation after generation, people are going to believe that this is the truth. So then when a black person comes forward and says, wait a minute, this is not a true narrative. Anytime we speak up about our history, it's always somehow trying to be refuted, or you have other cultures that try to diminish the truth and make it to seem like we're the inferior people. But again, there are many scholars, and this isn't the only documentary that talks about this subject. There's many documentaries that have been out for at least 20 years that talk about this same thing. So Kyrie Irving has been made out to be pretty much ostracized in the media. He's pretty much been hung out to dry by his own people in the NBA. He's pretty much been hung out to dry by his colleague commentators that commentate on the NBA. and we can name names because they are out there. And the first name I will name is one Shaquille O'Neal, NBA champion, because now it's coming out that he's the part owner or half owner, I guess, of a movie theater in Newark, New Jersey, that actually had a viewing of this documentary back in 2019. No one said anything about canceling the documentary, or if someone had an opinion about it, to not go and watch or go view or get your own opinions, do your own due diligence. So now the question becomes, why is Kyrie Irving being labeled as being anti-Semitic when you learn the history of what Semitism is, as he has stated, as Nick Cannon has stated, as people from the Nation of Islam has stated, when you know your history, there is no way that we as Black or African descendants can be anti-Semitic. That's the premise of the movie. There is no way that we can be anti-Semitic because, according to this documentary and others out there with the documented history and genealogical history too, we're talking DNA proof that African people are the original Hebrews or the original Jewish people, and that what we know now as Euro-Jewish people have adopted certain teachings that were originated through African culture. So again, I challenge anyone, including Euro-Jewish people, to watch this documentary with an open mind. And why is Kyrie Irving being the scapegoat? Like you said about Candace Owens's documentary, why aren't people going after Dalton Jr.? Why isn't anyone going after Jeff Bezos? Because it's on Amazon. He's the owner of Amazon. Why isn't anybody going after him, saying, hey, take this documentary down because it's so anti-Semitic? I mean, former president Donald Trump, during his presidency, he made a lot of what we would consider, or what some people would consider, quote, anti-Semitic remarks about Euro-Jewish people. Why is he not being canceled? Why is he not being plastered all over the television? Why? Because he's not an African person. He's not of dark complexion. I'll even go a step further. If you notice, people like Tupac Shakur, who has an African name or a Hebrew or Arabic name, people like Kanye, who have African names, people like Kyrie, who have African or Arabic names. It seems or appears that anytime people like this bring messages of intelligence or something of substance for people to consider, it's always put on the table as being something controversial or something as if we're not allowed to be intelligent, as if we're not allowed to know our own history, as if we're not allowed to learn about ourselves and how great we are, not at the expense of telling other cultures how ungreat they are. No, I believe all cultures have greatness to varying degrees, including us. But that doesn't negate the fact that there are truths of history that have been hidden from the general public for 7 generations. And now it appears that there is a spiritual war going on right now, a spiritual war, not war of bloodshed and guns and bombs and hand grenades. No, we're talking about a spiritual war, about your core values and who you know you are. And if you know who you are as a person, as a spiritual being, and where we originate, is really no secret. There are so many Caucasian archaeologists that have pointed to the fact that the first remains were found in Sudan that date back almost 3 million years. Skeletons. And the documentary actually pointed some of this stuff out too. And again, there are European scholars and Euro-Jewish scholars that concur with many of the things that are in this documentary. So again, why is it that Kyrie Irving is made to be a public spectacle, being made to be like he's having a public lashing, and he's been suspended for 5 games because he put up a link? 5 games, and the league wants to put demands on him to do certain things before he can come back on the court. For example, he supposed to pay $500,000 to some anti-hate organizations. That's one of the criterias that he has to do before he goes back on the court. Another thing, he has to go and publicly apologize the way the NBA commissioner wants him to apologize. That's another thing. Another thing they want him to do is to go to I guess a Holocaust museum, because I guess they want to teach him a lesson about the Holocaust, which was horrible for European people. But Kyrie Irving didn't travel all the way across the Atlantic Ocean to put European people inside gas chambers. He didn't do that. Kanye West didn't travel 7,000 miles across the Atlantic Ocean to go and maim and burn Polish people or German people. Kyrie Irving didn't do that. All he did was put up a link, but he's being made to be public enemy number 2. And Kanye West is being made to be public enemy number 1 over an opinion. And who is Adam Silver? He's the NBA commissioner. Who is he to tell Kyrie who he is? Again, this is about people making the attempt to make us feel inferior, like we're not entitled to know about how great we are historically, because the narrative is that we just came over here on slave ships and we've been had chains and shackles around our neck and ankles for what, 450 years? This has been the narrative, not the fact that we ruled dynasties, not the fact that we civilized the entire planet, not the fact that the Spanish Moors taught European people about hygiene. We don't want to hear that. We don't want to hear about how African people started martial arts. We don't want to hear about that. We don't want to hear about all the inventions that were created by African hands. Native American people had to fight for Christopher Columbus Day to be scratched because they knew certain truths that Christopher Columbus didn't discover this land. He came over here and discovered that there were already darker people over here, the Native Americans and other African people that were already here. So what did they do? They came over here, divided and conquered when we were at a low point. So why is Kyrie Irving and Kanye West being put on display as whipping boys? Because they have an opinion, because they've done some due diligence on thinking differently, on learning truths about our culture, versus the narrative that we've been having to drink out of different drinking fountains, that we can't get served at certain restaurants because of my skin color. Muhammad Ali won a gold medal for the United States of America, and as soon as he came back, he couldn't get served in his own country. Little things like that tell a narrative that we are made to be inferior. So when we bring a superiority complex and something for other people of culture to consider of how great we are, other people of other cultures that are in control of the television, that are in control of what we see every day, they're telling us that, oh, no, 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 you can't tell us that. You can't tell other Black people that that we do have power. You can't tell other Black people that, hey, why don't we get together and create our own stuff? So we can make our own movies, we can create our own leagues, we can create our own anything and everything. And again, not at the expense of taking something away from other cultures. We don't need to do that. We've never done that throughout history. We've never taken from anyone or any other culture. All we've done throughout history is give. And you can go back and check it throughout history. So again, why is it that when we bring a different narrative, or maybe a true narrative, something for someone to consider, something different, people want everything to stay the same? And when things stay the same, this is what you get over and over and over and over again. This is a spiritual warfare. And now things are being brought to the forefront for the whole world to see. People are being put on display that need to be displayed. Kanye West and Kyrie Irving have opened Pandora's box, and I'm glad that they have, because now we, and the entire world, or at least America, gets to see who's truly in charge, because we see what happened to Kanye. All of his endorsements have been taken because he made an opinion. We see Kyrie Irving being suspended because of an opinion, because he made statements that the mainstream doesn't want you to believe. They don't even want you to consider it. But wait a minute. Why haven't people been in an uproar about Brett Favre? He's a sports figure. Brett Favre robbed poor people in Mississippi of almost $7 million of welfare money, because he wanted to build his daughter a volleyball complex in Mississippi, which is his home state. Why aren't people up in arms about that? That was in the news. It came and went. And he's been robbing people. And this is a Hall of Famer. He's been robbing people. But they want to put Kyrie Irving and drag him like Emmett Till. Or drag Kanye West like Emmett Till. But then when Kanye West mentions Emmett Till's name, oh, you shouldn't mention his name. Or when he mentions about him having the knee on his neck now, oh, you shouldn't say that. You getting what you deserve. Oh, really? Why is he getting what he deserves? Everything he says seems like it's coming to pass. Everything that he said is coming to pass right now, because we see everybody that's in charge that he said, we see how much power they have. Well, if they have so much power, why don't we take a step back and look at everything that's happening and say, hey, we can have that same kind of power too. Why do we have to keep answering to them and apologizing? We shouldn't have to apologize for anything, because we didn't bring anybody over here. We didn't bring anybody over here. We brought no one over here. So my whole thing is, before we make any emotional disagreements based on our emotions getting riled up because someone comes with a different opinion about history versus the narrative that we've been handed. I mean, look at us. We get Black History, 28 days out of the year? And what's the narrative of those 28 days? Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, Frederick Douglass. Those are pretty much the three names that we hear about all 28 days. Dr. Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, and Frederick Douglass. Those are pretty much the three names that we hear about predominantly. Maybe W.E.B. Du Bois and a couple of other names, but that's the narrative. Native American people, they only get one day, Indigenous Peoples Day, and they have to fight for that. So why is it that when another narrative is brought to the table, the television tells us not to even consider it? We're not even to consider it. And then you have other Black people ridiculing the two people that are trying to bring something new to the table. Shaquille O'Neal, Shannon Sharp, Stephen A. Smith. And guess what? Stephen A. Smith wore an African jacket to the to game day that was out in Mississippi. At the ESPN was out at game day for one of the HBCU football games. And he had on an African jacket on. And you can go look it up. It's on YouTube. You can go look it up. He just last week he wore to HBCU game day on ESPN. He wore an African jacket with the African country on it, symbol. But when Kyrie Irving talks about how he's proud of his culture and heritage, you belittle that, Stephen A. Smith, but you had an African jacket on? How dare you? How dare you? Shaquille O'Neal called Kyrie Irving an idiot on national TV, an idiot, because he's proud of his culture, because he's learning something about his culture that's not going to be taught in the public school system. Because I didn't get taught this in the public school system. Hell, I didn't even get taught it in church the few times that I went there as a child. I didn't get taught that. But Shaquille O'Neal calls Kyrie Irving an idiot because he wants to learn
Charles
about
Barkley.
And so does Charles Barkley. So again, I challenge anyone to go and watch that documentary. It's called Hebrews to Negroes. And I challenge any and all European Jewish people. Hell, I challenge Whoopi Goldberg to go watch it because she's been claiming that she's so Jewish, but they let her know real quick how Jewish she is when she had an opinion about the Holocaust that they didn't like, and they suspended her for 2 weeks. And she apologized so she can keep her job. And from what I understand, I think she's in the middle of doing Sister Act 3 right now. So she didn't want to mess that up. So I challenge her to go watch the movie. If you're such the Jewish person, go watch that movie and tell all of the your viewers on The View that you watched it and give your opinion about it.
She might get suspended again.
You might get suspended again, right? Because she wants to learn about her own culture. And Whoopi Goldberg is darker than me and you.
So Whoopi Goldberg better watch out. I don't know. But anyhow, I'm glad you brought all that out because you said a lot. And a lot of the stuff that you said, I cannot articulate it like that. And I did watch the movie as well. And a lot of it, I would have to watch it some more another time because it was over my head so much. And I'm honest because I have integrity and I can't say some of the stuff I saw in there. Yeah, I knew exactly what they were talking about, but some of it I didn't know. But it was very detailed, and he seemed to have done a lot of due diligence. But my thing is, with us supposedly having a constitutional right to have freedom of speech and freedom of expression, and all Kyrie Irving did was post something. He hasn't gone off like President Trump. I mean, this President Trump has been talking all this stuff. He's been talking for I don't know how long. He just was on, I saw on MSNBC about 2 weeks ago where he was going off. They showed the clip. It's on YouTube as well. So my thing is, this is bigger than Kyrie Irving. And like we've already said, what Candace Owens has done, and nobody is saying anything. And Kanye West just said what he saw on the documentary, and he mentioned her name. And some of the stuff, I don't agree with Kanye on some of the stuff he says, no. But I feel this is bigger because I feel as human beings, all of us deserve the right to be loved and respected. And that started with the Constitution, I see it as an anti-Black movement. It started with the Constitution where we as Black people were deemed as somebody else's property and 3/5 of a person. So you're telling me that we don't have the right to speak? Our God-given rights, and the Constitution talks about all this. However, we know the Constitution wasn't written for us. We know that. That's why they had to come up with the 13th, 14th, and I believe the 15th Amendment. They had to come up with some more amendments. And we never got our 40 acres and a mule that was promised. So that's why we're out here now. And even when we built communities, guess what happened? They were torn down, bombed. Tulsa, Oklahoma, and not just that one, that just happens to be the most famous one, by racist white people that were jealous and did not want to see Black people thrive when given nothing. And a lot of people have been misled about this was really not true. Why, as President Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves, he didn't free us because he had so much love for Black people. He freed Black people because he wanted to keep the Union. I learned that in high school. And I went to an all-Black high school, all-Black school, segregated. And that's probably why I learned, because we learned a lot. And I found that out, what I knew versus the people that were my peers when I went to California, because we learned that in high school, junior high, either junior high or high school, that President Lincoln freed the slaves because he wanted to keep the Union together. So we have to learn our history. And when you mention that, it's so ironic, and how this country wants to keep us in the dark about our history. Prime example, here in Texas, they had put in the books, the textbooks, to teach our children that there was no slavery. They were called interns. Since when did interns get raped, beaten, castrated, mutilated?
Yep.
So we have an ugly history here in America against us as Black people, and it's continuing. It's an ongoing thing here in America. And a lot of it has to do with an emasculation of our Black men that has broken our family structure, in not all of it, but a lot of it, because we know a lot of households are headed by single women, single Black women. And that's no coincidence, because back in the day, you had more parents that were together with their children, mothers and fathers teaching their children values. And I'm telling you, because when the neighborhood we grew up in, we could leave our homes, leave our doors open. We looked out for one another in the Black communities, and that's a good thing. And then here comes this racist society that didn't want us to thrive. So the first bombing that happened from the air on this country was through was in 1921 in Tulsa, Oklahoma. But people try to say, oh no, that was it, first air bombing, because they don't want you to know about how even the government's planes were used in it. And this country does not want to know this history. So it's good that we are doing our due diligence. And like I said, I watched the movie too. Now, the people that were talking about the movie, Shannon Sharp and the guy, what's the name with him? He said he didn't even, neither one of them had watched the movie, the documentary, Negroes to Slaves, Wake Up Black America. I watched it, but I didn't understand a lot of it. It was new to me. So I can only elaborate on what I know myself and what I've experienced here in America as a Black woman, 72 in about 3 months. So it's a great divide here. And a lot of it has to do with the hypocrisy of America. And we, as Black people, that's who is it's anti-Black against us. And it's been going on since slavery. So that's my perspective. And a lot of it, just one other thing I want to add, Ken, from my perspective, this is not just about Kyrie Irving or Kanye West. Because of what I have experienced, it's about putting us as Black people in our place. That's the bottom line from what I see. That you Black people are getting out of hand now. You're not afraid to speak up now. You're speaking out, you're speaking up, and we don't like that. We don't want you to unify.
Mhm.
And we know that we are intelligent people. We've always been melanated, intelligent people. We have contributed so much to this country. Our ancestors built it through their blood, sweat, and tears, and all of the atrocities leveraged against them. So I just wanted to speak that. And for somebody to sit up and call somebody an idiot, don't ever allow anybody to you to buy into that when you see idiots calling you an idiot as a Black person when they haven't. I guarantee you, most likely, none of these people that's talking have watched that movie. They have no clue probably what's in it. And Kyrie Irving merely posted something. He's not out here spewing quote unquote anti-Semitic energy like your ex-president Trump is doing. But nobody,
Right.
I haven't seen, and he's been spewing it, believe me. So if you're going to cancel, just be fair with your cancellation and your hypocrisy. That's what I have to say. And we use the Bible a lot. We're supposed to be a Christian nation. I just want to share a couple of scriptures that I love. And one of them is in my award-winning book about my son David, the one that was ill and had cancer that I'm fighting for. And we know last month was mental health awareness, and I talked a lot about that because that system is broken, and we know why it's broken too, because of greed and uh, corruption. But anyhow, 2 Timothy 2:1-7 says, God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind. And that's what's going on in America now, because we don't have the spirit of fear. And they can't deal with that. And I'm so happy to see our Black men speaking up and speaking out for what you believe in. Because if you have freedom of speech, and these Shaquille O'Neal, you've named them all. I don't have to name them again. Shannon Sharp and Charles Barkley and all of them. And then Shaquille O'Neal has the audacity to speak when, from what is allegedly said now, is that he allowed the movie to be shown in his theater back in
Yeah,
2019.
back in November of 2019. And actually
So how
the guy that did the documentary, he actually did promotions to promote that specific day. Um, so it's up. It's up
what a
there.
hypocrite. So from what I see,
November, I think November 10th of 2019. That's when the day that it was going to be shown at his theater.
so what hypocrisy is that coming from Shaquille O'Neal? And I'm old enough to be his mother, I'm sure. And if he was my son out there talking, calling somebody an idiot, I would be telling him, I mean, I'm not calling anybody an idiot except for the people that are calling somebody else an idiot. To me, you're not using your intelligence and your critical thinking skills and your common sense, because you are belittling another Black man for his beliefs and his opinion when he hasn't even told you that he was promoting the movie. He just put it out there.
Right.
And he didn't write it. He didn't write it. Nobody is going after the Amazon.
Yeah, Jeff
Who's,
Bezos.
who's going? Jeff Bezos. Who's going after him? Nobody. He's
Nobody.
allowing this to be shown on Amazon, and
And
a
he's
lot
getting
of it I
paid, and
hear
he's getting paid for every person that purchases or rents. He gets paid
absolutely.
for that.
Sure he does, because he owns Amazon. And I
He
don't
gets
hear
paid
anybody
for that.
saying, oh, well, we got to go and put Jeff Bezos in his place now, because he said, you got to take that down, Jeff. And it's still out there because I saw it. I saw the movie. It's still out there. So it's, to me, I having a Black husband, Black son, this is emasculation of Black people, particularly Black men, to tell you, I'm going to put you in your place. But no, you're not going to put us in our place, because we are empowered through God. And if we're living in a Christian community, and this is the Bible Belt down here in the South too. And 2 Timothy 2 Timothy 2, 1-7 tells us nobody, no ethnic group should have the spirit of fear, but a power of love and a sound mind. And the Constitution is supposed to be based on that. The man just posted something. And like I said, I don't agree with everything either one of them say. We should have the right to agree or disagree when you hear something, because we do have our own minds. And another scripture I want to talk about briefly and tell you something that Minister Shaw said yesterday. It was about not about this, but it had to do with the psychiatry industry. But Proverbs 20:19, I said, if white people use the Bible to put us in slavery, we have to use the Bible to let our people know and anybody else know that's righteous minded, that the Bible should be used to free all of us, because it's like America is enslaved now and needs some help in understanding so we can get some healing and some love into this country, because it's sad. But Proverbs 29:16 says, when the wicked thrive, so does sin, but the righteous will see their downfall. And that says a lot. That's huge, because we're seeing all of this stuff happening now. And so yesterday on our show, and I'll say this and I'm done because I know we got to wrap it up. I guess it's time. We've been on here for quite some time, but it's been an interesting mother-son conversation. And Fred Shaw mentioned, when we were talking about the psychiatry industry yesterday and all the stuff that goes on and how some kids, Black kids, are being murdered in these psychiatric institutions or centers. And that bothers me. That's why I do this, because of my son, David, that was diagnosed with a rare bone cancer at 14 and went on to battle depression and drug addiction. Thank God he's still alive, but he needs help to navigate and facilitate. And I'm working on getting conservatorship again. But he mentioned television, how you see all these drug announcements and so forth, and they tell after all the side effects and everything after they name the drug. The side effects are so long, you got a minute or two of side effects. And he said, and I hadn't heard this being told like this, he said, television, you think about the word when it was coined, tell a vision. So what they're doing is telling us that we have to use their vision because they're programming us. Tell a vision. And he made so much sense when he gave that analogy yesterday on the program we were talking about on my show, Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour, when we were talking about the psychiatry industry. And that was such a good analogy, television, because they are telling us what our vision should be. And we watching television are being programmed. And that's the fear. And we should not have the spirit of fear, but a power of love and of a sound mind.
Well, the fear, obviously there is fear, because again, why would these two darker skinned gentlemen be plastered all over the television because of possibly giving the public a certain different narrative to consider? But my whole thing is, again, who controls the narratives and what we see? So before we wrap it up here, I'm going to name off these media corporations. I did it last week, but I'm going to do it again because people need to know who is in control of the narratives and who calls the shots on what we're allowed to see and what we're not allowed to see, and who we're allowed to see it from, and why there's such the fear of people not watching not only this documentary, but other documentaries as well, whether it's related to religion or religious practices, spiritual practices, whether it's related to health practices, you name it. Anytime there's something different brought to the forefront, something different, we're told to stay away from it because it's controversial. Well, if it's controversial, you may want to take heed and at least take a quick listen and open your ears and open your mind and take a look at what's going on, because it may be something that will help you down the road versus you being stuck in limbo.
Absolutely. And one other thing before you read the list, I want to speak on, because these powers that may be act like the public, and not just us as Black people, all ethnicities, because we all are the public. They act like we all are a bunch of idiots, like we don't have our brains and can't use our critical thinking skills and our wisdom, discernment, and understanding to analyze what we are watching and use what's good for us and throw the rest away. We do have that intelligence, so many of us. Some of us don't, because it's all about the money, like the Charles Barkley, and they holding the whip for the master so that they can whip up on the Black people that are getting out of their place, because that's their job as the whip and overseer of us, so that they can put us in our place. But I want to mention this because Kanye West is a hip hop, well, I should say Ye, because that's his new name, is a hip hop artist. And I was listening to, this was about 4 years ago. It was on the Breakfast Club. Leor
Yeah.
Cohen,
Leor
who
Cohen,
is
yes.
Leor Cohen, who is an executive and producer of all this rap music, that these Black rappers are going and they're getting killed by the it seems like every week you hear of a rapper getting killed. But anyhow, he was on the Breakfast Club, and Charlemagne the God was interviewing him. And he's signing these rappers to spew all of this damaging information out in our neighborhood, calling us as Black women bitches and hoes, promoting drug addiction, alcohol addiction, promoting Black folks killing one another. That is detrimental to our Black community. And when Charlemagne asked him, why does he do it? And I'm paraphrasing, his answer was, well, because they got talent and I got mouths to feed. I got a business to run. So now, if that's not anti-Black, I don't know what it is, because in essence, to me, what you're saying is, I don't care about these Black women out here that y'all calling them bitches and hoes. I don't care about you, from these rappers that I'm signing, and I'm laughing all the way to the bank about these young kids out here dying of drug overdoses and killing up one another. I don't care about that. I don't care about the killing of one another. You guys out here killing one another, like that poor man that I just interviewed that started his own business in spite of being paralyzed in 2005, going through depression and everything. And he started a clothing line, Nagazi. And his name is Sylvester Gilmer. You can go and look it up on Nagazi, Negasi 44.com, and buy some of his apparel, because we need to start buying from our own. We need to start building our own empire so we don't have to depend on anybody else. Take a lesson from the Jewish community. I admire what they're doing. They are building. I admire what the Hispanic people are doing, ethnic groups, the Asian groups. We need to take a lesson and come together and build. We've done it before, we can do it again, and we are doing it now. And that's one of the issues. This happened about 4 years ago. I never even heard anybody say a word about all of these record promoters, executives, how they are signing these rappers, taking out insurance policies or whatever on them, so if they get killed or whatever, they can collect and laugh all the way to the bank, I guess. And that's using our Black community. That's being anti-Black toward us. And you sat right there with Charlemagne the God, and he shifted the blame to Dame Dash. He didn't question it anymore and say, well, don't you know you're damaging the Black community, Leor Cohen? You're damaging our Black community. And you're telling me that you are doing it because they're talented. And we know we're very talented. Look at the sports, the athletic industry. Over 70% of them are Black. So why don't you start your own team? You got the talent. Why don't you start your own black wood. If you just got to have a wood behind your name for your company, you don't have to go and be subservient to other ethnic groups, because we have the talent where we can start our own and teach our children our history, teach our children how to invest in. You got real estate, you got the stock market, you can become an entrepreneur. And I know we're doing it with your daughter, my granddaughter, and she's very articulate. She uses her critical thinking skills. She's only 8 years old, because that's what we are teaching her. And we need to do that. And when I see these record producers out here promoting all this, bashing us as Black people, that's anti-Black, and nobody's saying it's an anti-Black racist movement against us. So why don't you stop and think about how and what you're doing from the other ethnic groups that's fighting these people, because you're telling us you don't give a damn about us. All you want is to use the talent and take your money to the bank. And as to our people, a statement to you, you're helping and buying into it, because you're going to these concerts when they're spewing all of this anti-Black racist hate against us as Black women, killing one another, drug abuse. You're buying the tickets to it. So you're buying into it too when you go to the concerts, when you buy the records. So we complain about it, but you have to look at your own inappropriate behavior. Why buy it? I don't buy it, never have, never will. Because why am I going to promote and buy something from somebody that's paying somebody to call me a bitch or a hoe, in which I am not? And these young Black kids out here dying every day of drug overdoses, killing one another, fighting in the schools. It's ridiculous, and I don't like it. And I speak up and speak out about it. And I keep this to remind everybody, more of us need to do that. Start honoring our culture and who we are, and start unifying as a people so that we can elevate and come out of the bottom of the barrel. Start trading and with one another. And that's not to say don't trade with other people, because there's nothing wrong with that. However, trade with your own people too. And start loving yourself, self-love, love for one another. We need that. And once you love yourself and others, we can love other people too. We can come together. And we know this is nothing against any other ethnic group if you are about doing the right thing. This is for the ones that aren't doing the right thing, as I quoted to you in the scriptures, because there are other ethnic groups. If it wasn't for them, white people, we'd still be in slavery, because there were white people that helped to free, what's her name? Harriet Tubman, the Underground Railroad. There were white people that helped, and there are still decent white people out here. So we have to look at it from that perspective, and we got to do things to benefit ourselves as well, and stop the war against one another. Love is the key to all of this, because only love can conquer hate.
Love can only conquer hate. And real quick, I know we're running out of time, so I want to go over this list of
Talk
who's in
about that, but I had
control.
to get that in.
I understand. But I want to go over this list because, again, the fear factor is in, and the fear factor is being put on display every single day as we speak. Because
Yes.
the fear is that we as a culture and other cultures will wake up to the fact that there are certain people that are in control of the narrative of how we see the world, and they're the ones that are keeping us in cultural bondage, or at least they're helping to do it by way of what they present to us through the television. And this is what Kanye West was bringing up as well. So I just want to read off some of the companies and their handlers, or their management or CEOs. And these are the people that control our television and newspapers, the thing we view and things we read in our newspapers and magazines. First, the Washington Post. Eugene Meyer, or purchased in 1933 by Eugene Meyer. Meyer Graham family managers. Next, the Huffington Post and BuzzFeed. Both companies were co-founded by Ken Lehrer and Jonah Peretti. Lydia Pellegrin, editor-in-chief over at Huffington Post, and Ben Smith, editor-in-chief at BuzzFeed. Next, The Guardian, Anthony Sauls, a Rothschild representative. The Economist, people have heard of The Economist, that is owned by the entire Rothschild family. Who else do we have here? We have Facebook, of course. We know who runs Facebook, or we know who the creator is Mark Zuckerberg. Let's see. Univision, which is a Spanish-speaking station. Univision, Comcast. CEO Wade Davis, who is not of Latin descent. He's of Caucasian descent, but he runs Univision. CBS, Viacom. It was owned until 2020 by Sumner Rothstein. Les Moonves was the past president, and we've heard about him in the news just recently over sexual assault allegations. His wife is the host of Big Brother, which has been on for nearly, 20 seasons now, or over 20 seasons. Brian Roberts, Brian Roberts, owner of NBC. Bob Greenblatt, president of NBC. ABC Disney, owner Bob Iger, president Bob Sherwood. CNN, president, or it was created by Ted Turner. President David Levy, past president Jeff Zucker, who was in the news, who actually he left after the Chris Cuomo firing, or after Chris Cuomo left, or he was fired. Wolf Blitzer is the chief anchor over at CNN, and he's been there forever. And keep in mind, these are all Euro-Jewish individuals, men predominantly. The New York Times, Osks and Schulzberger's owners, author Schulzberger, publisher. Also, the BBC, British Broadcasting Company or Corporation. Marcus Agius, board member in representation of the Rothschild family. Danny Cohen, director. Vox, co-founder and editor Ezra Klein. Matthew Iglesias, co-founder. And this one, the biggest one of all, Fox and News Corp, Fox and News Corp, which is ran by Rupert Murdoch and the entire Murdoch family. And we know that Fox News, through a judge in a court, said that Fox is not even a news company, it's an entertainment company, which is the reason why they pick and choose what they show you as news. All you got to do is go to Fox and Fox News and watch their hosts. Fox News is actually comedy, if you ask me. Fox is a really interesting channel, and how they present the news to the public, or what they perceive as news, and how they pick.
What did President Trump say about them? President Trump said they all are fake news.
Fake news, right? Fake news. And I think Fox News might be the biggest contributor of what we would consider fake news or half news, because again, they pick and choose what they want their audience to see. For example, the whole Nancy Pelosi and Paul Pelosi, they're not even touching the fact that the attacker is from Canada. He's an illegal immigrant that came here and crossed the Mexican border. They won't touch that. They won't touch that, because then it'll change the narrative that all these Mexicans are coming over in droves trying to attack the general public here in America, the rapists, the drug dealers, and this and that and the other. That's been the narrative. So they won't touch the fact that this is a Caucasian man that attacked the Speaker of the House's husband. So they won't touch that. So yeah, Fox News. So those are the contributors, and that's just some of the contributors of the men, predominantly of Jewish, Euro-Jewish descent, that are in control of what we see through the television waves. They're the ones that are in control. When you hear Kanye West say Ari Emanuel, this is the brother of Rahm Emanuel. If people remember, Rahm Emanuel is the former mayor of Chicago. When Obama was in office, all we heard, Rahm Emanuel this, Rahm Emanuel that. These are the people that are in control. And these are the people that control what you and I see on television every single day. They're in control of what you and I hear on the radio every single day. And if you dare go against the narrative, they will, as we've seen, they will show you who's in charge. So I say, if that's the case, that means that they have fear. They fear that they're going to have a different truth come to the forefront. And if you get enough people, like Kanye West said, if you have one person running opposite against the freeway, they're going to think you crazy. But if you have 10, 20, 30, 50 people running with you, they're going to call that a marathon. So how many people are going to step up and run this marathon? So the narrative can change. So racism, which is probably one of the biggest cancers of humanity, racism can be alleviated once and for all. I mean, people might have their prejudices and different judgments, which is questionable in itself, but to be hateful towards one group because of their skin tone, what kind of spirituality do you belong to? Because at the end of the day, under all of this, we're all the same. Under all of this, we just come from different parts of the earth. All of us have our places here. That's why we're here. All of us have a purpose here. You know, this is not a white man's world. That narrative has to go. This is not a white man's world, or else we wouldn't be here.
Well, that's the fear.
Why are we here if this is a white man's world? What are we here for?
That's the fear. These people feel they are losing their power. When it goes back to that Proverb 29:16, when the wicked thrive, so does sin, but the righteous will see their downfall. And we're starting to see it. And that's the fear, because these people want to stay in charge and control. And now they're realizing no matter how much money you got, once people realize the narrative, and it's all by design, no matter what ethnicity they are, because it's not just designed for us, we're just the ones that is designed more toward. So people are starting to realize now what's going on.
People are waking up now, and again, it's a spiritual war. So it would be wise that people kind of wake up to what's going on. The old narrative is, if you want to hide something from any Black person, you put it in a book. We need to start reading a little bit more, getting more information, doing our own due diligence, not just blindly accepting what we've learned in the public school system, because now that time has passed, we're learning that many of the narratives that we did learn in school are false. And so now we have to adjust and tell truths as they have been hidden, as they've been hidden from all of us, not just Black folks. They've been hidden from all of us.
Oh yeah, and they want to keep it that way, but it's not happening. And I'm so happy to see us, particularly since we've been the only ethnic group that's been enslaved in America, coming into an awareness and an awakening and empowering ourselves so that we can have our own television and news media and manufacturers and educational systems, you name it, financial institutions, grocery
All of
institutions,
it.
all of it. We need
All of it.
all of that. So I'm so happy, and we're working on it and working toward empowering ourselves and unifying ourselves, because that's the key to it, connecting us as an ethnic group. We need to
And
do that. And as time, I guess I'm not gonna say anything else because I know you gotta get out of here.
and you know, and this is not at the expense of taking anything from anyone else.
No,
I
it's
mean,
not.
money is everywhere. Land is everywhere. If there is to be any reparations, give us the land. You can
There's
give us
plenty of it.
you can give us money, but give us the land, because the land will be more valuable, and we can make money off of having the land, the 40 acres.
Absolutely. Land and money. It's more than 40 acres now, and I want both land and money, financial, because it's been a long overdue. And if you can give everyone else reparations and land and money, our ancestors built this country. We are owed we're the offsprings, and we are owed that money and land. And it's land everywhere. So don't tell all this population control and all this. In Texas, there's so much open land out here in Texas, I tell you. And a lot of states, when you travel, you see all the open land out here. So it's plenty of land.
Tell everybody where we can find you, and how we can keep in contact with you. It's been a great conversation, but I know we can be on here all night. What I'm going to have to do is probably make this and break it up into two parts,
Oh yeah, I
because it's,
understand. Yeah, maybe three parts. You can
or
break
even
it up.
three
Yeah.
parts,
Yeah, make it
because
in three parts. I would do it three parts. Do each documentary separate and do the first conversation voting separate. You can have three parts.
yeah, it's a lot of information, but I'm glad we were able to talk about it. Um, you know, so tell everyone where they can find you and where they can follow you, and then we are going to wrap it up.
Okay, everybody. Thanks for following me since I just started back after about 5 years, lost a lot of followers and so forth, but I'm back, and I am Louise Hicks again with my son, Kenan uh, Wesley Mason of Kinetic Fit and Wellness. I'm glad to be on his first episode, but you can find me at Lou Hicks on Facebook and Louise Hicks. I have two. I have my profile regular, and then I have my public figure page, which is Louise Hicks on Facebook. I have multiple groups on Facebook: Go Mental for Change, Aim to Purpose Empowerment Network, Aim to Purpose Book Club. And I started all these my pages back in, I think, 2009 or so, because I've been on Facebook a long time. And my YouTube channel, Aimed, AIMED, the number 2, Purpose Radio. That's Aimed, AIMED, the number 2, Purpose Radio. Aim to Purpose Radio. And you can go to my channel. Please subscribe. Leave your comments. Give it a thumbs up. There's a lot of information out there that will help you to educate yourself, elevate yourself. And we have, from the shows back in the day, there's lots of information. When we were doing Aim to Purpose, a radio show, this is a spinoff, really, my Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour, which comes on every Sunday. And normally it's 1 o'clock Central Time. Sometimes we don't always come on at that time. And if not, I'll let you know. Sometimes I have guests. Sometimes it's just me talking about whatever's going on and giving some of my wisdom. I am a motivational speaker. I am a coach. I have an award-winning book that I'm going to get back into publication pretty soon. That is my goal. So you can contact me through my website, which is louisehicks.com. Again, louisehicks.com. So those are I'm on YouTube. What is that other one? Instagram, Louise Hicks, A2P. And I'm also on Twitter as Louise Hicks. So I'm on all the social medias. So follow me.
All the
Get in
platforms.
touch with
So
me.
that's right.
Yes.
Make sure you follow her, and you can follow me on Instagram, Kenan Wesley Mason. You can follow me on Facebook, Kenan Mason. That's Kennon. And go to my YouTube channel, which is Kinetic Fit and Wellness Info. That's Kinetic, Kennetic. Go there, subscribe, click thumbs up. There's a ton of information there on different health matters and matters on positive thinking processes and just how you can make yourself better every single day. So I thank my mother, Louise Hicks, for being my first guest, and just be on the lookout. I'm going to do my best to be on every Monday. We did get a late start, again, technical difficulties, but we're going to smooth things out so things can run better next time and the next time and the next time after that. What I'm going to do is try to do a simulcast. If I can't do one or the other, I want to try to do a simulcast, Facebook and Instagram simultaneously. But if not, all shows will be up and recorded to where I can post them on either platform. So be on the lookout for that. I'll be having guests on, because the premise of Kinetic Fit and Wellness and the Kinetic Hour is to speak with you, the people, because all of you have stories to tell. All of you have certain things that you have overcome, trials, tribulations, hardships, maybe success stories that that you may want to expose, and you may help some other people at the same time, because when things might be going on with one person, you never know, that same thing might be going on with 10 or even 100 other people all over the world, or 1,000 people all over the world. So I am here to talk to you, the people, and I will have other guests on, such as the ones we had in the past. We've talked to brilliant people. So I'm looking forward to it. My mom will be in from time to time to give her experience and expertise. But the real thing is to talk to you, the people, because that's most important. All of our voices need to be heard, especially now at this time. People are fearful of voices speaking up. So my whole thing is to allow you to have your voices heard. So the Kinetic Hour, it's coming every week. We're going to do every Monday until things keep going. And then we will see about going possibly every day, or at least an hour. If not 30 minutes, at least an hour. It is the Kinetic Hour. So be on the lookout for that. So again, I want to thank my mother, Louise Hicks. And I want to thank all of you for listening. For those that decided to stay on and go for the long haul, I thank you wholeheartedly. And I hope that you come back again and again and again for every episode. So thank you. And until next time, thank you.
Thanks for having me. And also fun and learning with my
Yes,
granddaughter.
fun and learning. Fun and learning, which will be, again, once a month. And it will be on YouTube. Fun and Learning with Grandma Louise and Najee Jewel, or in this case, it might be changed around to Fun and Learning with Najee Jewel and Grandma Louise, because she is the host.
She is the host, and she's 8 years old. And believe me, it's for all ages. Yeah. Join us. And we've done several shows that have been on Facebook Live and also on our YouTube channel. That's FUN, then small letter N, Learning, LEARNING, with Grandma Louise and Najee Jewel. But we are going to switch the hosts, and we'll switch that around.
Yeah. So be on the lookout for all of that. So I thank you all for watching and tuning in. And until next time, I am signing out. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ken. Love you.